A slightly different format today. I am talking to Alex French, business partner and good friend of mine, and I'm going to talk about a business venture that I'm setting up, which aligns very nicely to what I'm building here with Project Sovereign. So I thought I'd come here and talk about it and go through what it's all about, what we stand for, and what we're looking to create. People will know I'm big on freedom and personal sovereignty and living a life that you create for yourself rather than living to the dictates of other people, and also the unconditioned, the conditioned mind rather. I'm big on that psychology, philosophy, that sort of thing, and thinking wealth is an arm of that now. We are looking to build a sovereign network of individuals looking to create that life by design and essentially unplug from the monetary system that has enslaved many people for since at least ancient Venice, if we go that far back to the modern monetary system. So we're looking to create this platform. We've already created the platform. We're looking to build the network now. So that's what I thought we'd talk about here. Cheers for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
No worries, mate. Pleasure.
Yeah. So let's talk about you first. What have you done in the past?
What would you like to know, mate?
Well, we're obviously we've got into business now. We've done some property deals in the past. What else other than business? What are your business?
Where did I start out?
Yeah.
Okay, so my sort of experience and why we ended up meeting sort of came off the back of what I was originally trained in, which was my surveying, which then led me down the path of investing in property. So that stretches back. I bought my first property in 2012, so that's obviously 10 years ago now. So that's how we ended up meeting, I think via a message on a Facebook page.
Yeah.
You clocked that we were from the same area.
Right.
Actually, I think he said Dudley, and then you messaged me and I said, I'm actually from Sedgley, and he was like, yeah, same here.
Ah, right.
And then we ended up meeting from there, and then obviously from that situation we've gone on and done various different things together, business-wise, but this is obviously the latest thing that we set up, an idea that was in my head about 12 months ago now.
Yeah.
And then we spent the last sort of 9 months, I would suggest, putting it all together. So that's sort of how we sort of met and how we've come to this point in time, isn't it? We're thinking wealth. I think the idea of it, and we've both done a lot of training, haven't we, from various different training providers. Property, I was involved in, like, I think it was Progressive, who I started out with. And we just realised that there's a lot that we've done experience-wise that we could now share at what we believe is a very affordable price, which will enable it to get out to more and more people.
Not to knock the industry, but
no, not at all.
It's very expensive in it for a lot of people, man.
And I think at the end of the day, when you've got the sort of personality that I've got and you have as well, you take responsibility for yourself anyway. So whether you paid a lot of money or, well, that was your choice in that moment in time, and obviously choices thereafter to do as much as you could with it, and obviously stating the obvious. More people, certain people do better than others. So yeah, that's sort of part of the reason that we started it. You've sort of introduced me over the last sort of 5-6 years the sort of the non-mainstream outlook on life, one way of putting it. Hence why we're not just creating a financial investing platform. It's a lot more than that. It's a lot bigger than that. That's just a part of it. It's the sort of community feel. It's the idea of getting a collective who can basically, at the end of it, stand on their own 2 feet and support one another.
That's it. If people go through what we're building here and create that network around them, even if you don't make a penny, which will be more or less impossible, but even if you didn't make a penny, it's the outlook on life and it's who you've been able to surround yourself with.
Massive.
That's far more important.
Absolutely.
You can always make money. It's just an idea, innit?
there's a lot of people out there, without meaning to offend, that are pretty much the same as the next person and the next person and the next person. And you know, you can go, no doubt you go into this sort of conversation a lot more detail in other episodes that you do, but that human conditioning, you just see it. It's so obvious. It hits you in the face with certain people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so to break out from that, which I think, well, I have done over the last sort of 5-6 years, that's been my biggest win, if you like.
Yeah.
Because it's working out that, without going too deep so early on, figuring out more about yourself, learning who you are, which I think the vast majority of people that I've met haven't got a clue, and they daren't even look. So that's a big step. That was a big step forward. So yeah, I thank you for.
Cheers, man. I appreciate that. You know, just that shifting worldviews and then evolving your conscious awareness is far more important than buying property and stuff. But what tends to happen is that I don't know, I can't make sense of it really, but you tend to fall down that line of work, and if you keep going rather than just sticking there, it gets more and more
bigger than
more
what started
evolved.
out.
Yeah. So you fall into, let's make more money for ourselves. Then you fall into, hang on, the system ain't quite what I thought. And then it's like, okay, what is there more?
Yeah.
And you go more, you spiritually develop, you mentally you get a lot more developed. You know what I mean?
That's really obvious, isn't it? When you sort of follow the people that I do business-wise, if they've started out on their own, in their own business or self-employed, those personality traits or those areas of their lives that they've maybe changed are all consistent with one another. So, like you say, you're probably a personality or a character that's more willing to ask the question and not stop and not just conform. And I think that goes back to personal pride. I think you want better for yourself and the people around you, and you won't settle for what somebody else tells you if it still doesn't make sense to you. So you just keep digging and digging and digging, and then that everything just blows apart, doesn't it?
Then you're a conspiracy theorist.
And then you're a nutter, yeah. But I'm all good with that, man. I really, probably one of my best traits is I really couldn't care less what people think about me, and I think that really does help. That really does help, because obviously there's a fair few people out there that are happy to see other people not do so well, you know. And that, you know, that's neither here nor there. It's just a fact of
you know what? It's an underlying tone of evolution. That's all that is. It's like nature wants to survive, and therefore, if it sees
something different,
something over-expanding itself, it tries to pull it back. It's just an egoic thing of a human, you know what I mean? But once you become aware of it, you can then consciously shine a light on it. It's like, hang on, why don't I want him to succeed here? What is it here that's making that happen? But most people don't get to that level, you know.
That's got
self-awareness, innit?
Yeah.
You'll have mates, unfortunately, who don't want you to succeed. There's an underlying tone there. You'll have friends and family. Parents are a big one, and it's not talked about, but parents generally don't want you to succeed or go over them.
Yeah, what they've achieved.
Particularly men, because it's like belittling.
Yeah.
So very painful for a lot of people.
The thought of somebody doing better than their own dad.
So yeah,
it's interesting.
It is, man. But back to thinking wealth. As I've said there, what we're trying to do is get people who are now thinking differently, who have seen that these last 2 years in particular, but it's been on forever really, but it's
really
magnified now, isn't it?
Yeah, massively, yeah.
A platform that these people can come to with a focus on wealth creation, wealth preservation, property, gold and silver, crypto, mindset, financial intelligence. If you go deeper with us, it'll be trusts and second passports, second citizenships. A centralised place that people can come to for all that type of information. You know, that's what I'm looking to build, and I think we've got something at the moment, very much in its infancy, But I think that can fill the gap, man.
It seems a real natural extension of what you already do with Project Sovereign as well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
From the outside looking in, I'm still not involved in that, but it does look an extension. I think it's getting the practical side of your life right as well. So I think you touch on it in the past when you talk of like new age sort of like hippie folk who have a certain outlook on life, but they never actually. There's nothing like created. It's just an existence.
Yeah.
And it's having that capacity to sort of drop in and out of.
That's it.
Whatever normal is or society is.
Yeah, 1 foot in the world and 1 foot out of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of these,
having the control of that is massive.
The awareness of what's going on.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of the hippie types, they go, I understand people fall into that because they think they're broken. They think they need to be healed. So they go,
fine,
yeah, well, it's fine, but then people need healing from healing a lot of the time.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
It's got to the point that they're in a cycle of perceived healing.
Yeah.
And it's like the best way to so-called heal yourself is to go and interact.
Yeah.
To go and make something in the world and create something in the world, and everything will come up.
Yeah.
You've got no choice but to deal with it then. But people would rather sit in a circle, hug each other. I understand it, I really do understand it, but it just doesn't work.
There's probably a place for some of that, but if that's all you do, then where are you really getting? Where are we moving towards now?
Exactly, yeah. And that's why I think a platform like this is for people who are thinking, who are expanding, but also are interacting.
Yeah.
Not one or the other, we're both. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nice balance to strike.
So yeah, that's where we're at, man. And there's been, as we launched, I think we launched 2 weeks ago now, there's been a big correction in the markets, and crypto's jumped from Bitcoin is $68,000. It's come down, I think, as I'm talking, it's around $36,000.
Yeah.
So there's been a big correction there. Big opportunity for people who are already part of the network.
Massive, yeah. I mean, I think when we first set up the Facebook pre-launch page, and we did it the other night when we did that Facebook Live where you get little points in time where you might take a price and the date. So we did it, didn't we, the other night, and it was $36,000. I think when we did that previously, we picked out, was it 3 coins? And they all at least doubled from where we actually
said it,
from the point in time that we mentioned it. So yeah, I mean, obviously we touch on this a lot through our social media channels and over the podcast that we have done previously. It's such a volatile market, so you need to be, the mindset needs to be prepared for that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because it is so volatile, and it is. You need to sort of keep your emotions in check, don't you? And recognise that this isn't just a one-off. This happens a lot, but also then recognise, because that's happening, when you know what you're doing, there's a lot of opportunity within that, because of the very fact that it is volatile. And something that you touch on a lot, not just in this type of environment, investing environment, but in all walks of life, really, is having the conviction and being consistent. And that over a long period of time. Surround yourself as well with the right people. It compounds into massive change, massive results, one way or another. So if you keep doing the bad things over time, that's going to go one way as well.
Long-term thinking, what you've said there is like people. We're in a society where everything is done instantly. If you need a dose of instant gratification, if you're a female, just get your tits out and put it on Instagram.
Well, I said the other day, didn't I? There's somebody who I follow. She's I'm a football fan, Villa fan to be precise, and I don't even know this girl, but I think I may have met her once. Ended up following each other on Instagram, and she's done exactly that. She's just basically started not getting her tits out, but you know what I'm getting at. And it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Her following's gone from probably a couple hundred people, like most folks, to like nearly 10,000 followers.
Mate,
as you say, I mean, we're offering something that's without meaning to sound arrogant, valuable. It can really drastically change your life.
Yeah.
But people who want to get the baps out, for example, 10,000 followers within a couple of months.
So that's how it works, man. It's
priorities.
It is, but that instant gratification, it plays on the human desires. So it'll play on sex, it'll play on fear, and if you hit them as real hard, you'll sell stuff, because that's where people are at, man. I don't think we're evolving. I think we're devolving. So if you hit them with such lower natures, people just get absorbed by it. You know what I mean? But when you go the other way, which is no, come on,
pull out to it,
come up, it's much more. I don't want this to be a story for myself, but it's much more difficult to get those type of people in a net, because, well, first thing, I'm very sceptical. I've got a healthy dose of scepticism and everything. So if someone tries to put something in front of me, I'm going, hang on, I've got to do a lot of research here. Whereas most people just look at a pair of tits and just go, yeah, click the button and it's a like. So the women are getting instant dopamine hits. They keep doing it for that dopamine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back to the long-term thing. If you build something with solid foundations, you can put a skyscraper on it, right? But a lot of what's going on, the content out there and the platforms that are being built, they're built on shaky foundations. It's like, right, we'll get 1,000 people paying £100 a month, but there's no substance to anything. It's all just
nothing,
noise. There's no time. It's all timed content, which means in 5 years it will be relevant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So platforms, in my opinion, need timeless content. So in 30 years, they're still going to be there, and everything you've ever said is still going to be real.
Well, I suppose you could argue that type of mentality and where we're at in society, they'll just be the next thing to replace that. They'll want the next instant bit of content that gives people that feeling. So although it's not timeless, they may fill it with some other shit, basically, is what I'm saying, for the same people who've liked that original content. It's just the quality of it. I think that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah. What is attracting these people?
Yeah.
It's like if you can put people into a state of fear and then offer them solution to the fear, you end up with what's happened these last 2 years.
Absolutely.
You see, it's easy from that perspective when you've got control of the media to do that.
Yeah, it's so tangible in it. You can really feel it and see it. How people have changed. I mean, something close to myself and my family, like the NHS, for example. You've gone from people saying how fantastic everybody is a year and a half ago to now people actively supporting other people losing their jobs.
Same people?
The same people in 18 months.
Crazy, mate. Crazy.
It's just, the mind boggles. It's just a real example, isn't it? Real life example of how easy humans are to manipulate and to condition.
Because they're robots.
Because a lot of these people, they may have turned into it, but they're not bad people.
No.
If you know what I mean.
They're nice.
They've just been... Mass psychosis, that's probably still trending on Twitter. That's the best way I think of sort of putting it together.
I mean, that term, mass psychosis, I know it's and rightfully so, got a bit of energy behind it now and attention. Mate, there was books written 100 years ago.
Fair enough, yeah.
By Gustave Le Bon. I've done videos on the guy on about crowd psychology. That's what it is. You can manipulate with he called it contagion. And you could drop a contagion in one person and he could spread it across people who didn't have their own mind. Like Hitler did it, or the tyrants of the last 100 years. So you see, if you use Nazi Germany and the narrative we've been told, we'll just use that for the sake of this. All that happened there was that Germany was in a state of decay because of what Europe and the rest of the world were doing to them post World War I. Hitler come along and said, "Fuck all them, I'll solve your problem." That's as simple as it was. Jews are the problem, or Zionists are the problem. We'll sort this problem out for you. People bought it.
Yeah, massively.
And that's it. If we go on the narrative, we'll leave that one there. But so, mate, and if we link this into thinking wealth, this is a platform, as we've said, to have one foot in the world of what's going on. The reality is people are being manipulated by some powers that shouldn't be. That's a reality, right? I know people don't like to hear it, but it is just a reality. That's your foot in the world. Your foot out of the world is, how can we be at peace and psychologically cleanse ourselves and everything while operating in the world? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. As apparently Jesus said, be in the world but not of it. That's what, in my opinion, that's what he was talking about.
Nice quote, that.
Yeah. You never read the Bible then?
No, mate, no. That's what I'm missing out.
No, not really. It depends. You need to read it properly. Most people just read it like the newspaper, don't they? Yeah.
Without an open mind and what other things may have come out of it.
Yeah.
And not what you're told to think, basically.
The Bible's a good example of when people find a sense of when people have pain and suffering, they need something. They look outside of themselves for a solution. So they go to the priest and or fucking vicar or something, and then I'll come to Jesus. Jesus will save you. I mean, if Jesus is real, like the Christians say he's real, he'd be cringing, I reckon, at that.
Yeah, I don't really know where to say this conversation.
But I mean, the reason I'm saying it is because the reason I bring it up is because there is no saviour for anyone.
Well, that's what I was just about to touch on.
Own your own stuff.
Yeah. Always, that's my outlook on life anyway. Always bring it back to yourself, good, bad, indifferent, always. And if you can do that, there ain't much that can faze you. And if you've got a focus alongside that, you can be really powerful. Really powerful. But most people like to go outside because it takes the responsibility supposedly away from them. And it's a really horrible way, in my opinion, of living your life when you're putting so much faith in somebody else other than yourself, when you've got all the answers yourself. Yeah. You're just not willing to look at it. So like you say, I mean, linking it back to what we're doing at Thinking Wealth, that type of person, or somebody that's maybe just opening the door to the possibility of these sorts of things, those are the sorts of people we'd love to have within the community, within Thinking Wealth.
To add value that way as well. Like, this ain't about us putting out content all the time. This is about people interacting with one another. We're going to be putting on network meetings where people will come face to face, and if they try and lock us down again, we'll do it in some hidden location. So that's what we're going to be doing. This is more about network than it is about necessarily the content we're putting out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what, from my perspective, it is. And it's time scales again. People, as a rule, overestimate what can be done in a year, but they underestimate what can be done in 10. So, like, because people are only thinking 6 months, 12 months, and they don't hit it because they've overestimated, they stop.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just wait, keep doing. You don't see no results for 5-6 years.
It's worse than that.
Well, some, yeah.
People don't look past 5 minutes. People don't look past the end of the nose. It's giving it a slightly different context, but...
So I was reading, that Zuby, the rapper.
Yeah.
He had he said,
I listened to him on Rogan.
He was alright, yeah, but he had 20,000 Twitter followers after 10 years, something like that, which ain't a lot after 10 years, to be fair. I think it was something like that, don't quote me. And then over the last 2 years, he's now up to 650. So he's had that exponential curve, and people don't, in the investing world, people don't think like that. It's like, okay, I'm getting into crypto because I can make double my money in a week. It's not how you do things.
No.
You get into crypto, in my opinion, Bitcoin in particular, in order to insure yourself against central banks. That's what Bitcoin is.
Yeah.
So in 10 years, when central banks are printing currency like it's going out of fashion, you've still got Bitcoin as your hedge.
Do we go there?
Yeah, let's go there. About what?
About everything that you've just mentioned there, central banks.
Well, this is the content we cover, so we might as well say some of the things, yeah.
The current financial system and where we're at and where it's going. I mean, we're in a mess, aren't we? Let's be honest. We've been in a mess for quite some time. However, they've been able to continually put a plaster on it, so to speak. But are they now getting to the point where it's having too big of an effect on people in more ways than it was previously for them to keep just printing money and get out of it? Like, you can't just keep doing that, can you?
I don't know.
Like inflation being the biggest example to use, where that's gone everywhere around the world. Like, that can't keep going at the rate it is before it starts really hitting people. Interest rates taking a different angle as well. That can't keep going either before it really fucks people over. So at what point in time I don't like using the phrase waking up, but I can't think of another one. What point in time will it get to for people to start realising that the decisions that these people are making are affecting them on a frequent basis? And there's no recognition there that that's the case. It's just, it's COVID, or it's Brexit, or it's like, come on, like, we've got to see past that. We've got to see a bit deeper than that.
Yeah. But people don't, again, it's short term, like, they don't see what's going to happen in 5-10 years. Like, people were saying we're going to get real hit by inflation. Average person didn't care. They don't even consider what inflation is. They don't know what inflation is.
Yeah, I get that. And that, I think a lot of that is down to the fact that if you're a working person still at this point in time, don't get me wrong, 10% inflation, which is around about the real figure, although it's not great, you can still function. Just about, yeah. You can still get by. Obviously, it's not great because you're not worth as much.
No.
Things are costing more, and etc. But if that goes to 15 and then 20%, then that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a massive deal.
Yeah.
And like I say, maybe it's just got to get to that point. And then
enough pain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whether people actually see it coming, which is highly unlikely, or whether it just gets to that point where they finally, it's that obvious.
Yeah. I don't know, mate, but people need to understand as well that inflation is merely another word for the debasement of currency. That's it, currency debasement. We get lost in financial terminology and it sounds great, but all it's doing really is keeping people in
language again,
clouds on in front of the face.
Yeah.
All it means, it's a secret tax, it's a secret wealth that the governments need in order to pay off the money that they've so-called borrowed. That's all it is, man. Based on the labour of the workforce. That's all it is. So if people really look what it is, right? We are eroding your wealth based on money we've borrowed. That's the reality. Yeah.
Which has been created by you.
Which, yeah, well, that's a different altogether. There is no such thing as debt. It's all made up. But that's a different theory altogether. But not theory, reality. But there's something called modern monetary theory. You heard of that?
I think you've touched on it, yeah.
I ain't done enough reading to know in depth. But essentially what they're saying is that if you're a sovereign nation, which means you've got your own currency.
Right.
The pound, the dollar, Japanese yen, things like that. You can essentially just wipe off your money, wipe off the currency. You can just delete it because you're not burdened by external forces. Right. In my opinion, that's just essentially a socialist policy that you can just get out of everything that you've created in order to make everything happy and equal and all that.
So for that to work, then I'd have to obviously start in the US, wouldn't it?
Probably with the dollar, yeah.
Yeah.
But would people lose faith in the dollar at that point? I don't know.
I don't know. These are, without obviously meaning to sound like an absolute nutter, but surely these conversations have been had.
Yeah, of course.
Like, where are we actually heading here? Like, if you're a business person or you run your own business, you look at good and bad, don't you? You project where you might be. And if you're quite conservative or a pessimist, you might look on the pessimistic side of things to safeguard yourself. So if you're in the Fed, what is their pessimistic outlook? Because they're never going to give you that, are they? Because they need people to remain confident in everything and how the financial system works.
Well,
I wonder what conversations they have.
Well, 2 days ago, they held the interest rates, didn't they, at 0.25. But they said they're going to rise them in March, but they also said between 4 and 6 or 4 and 7 times this year raised them.
What, in the same year?
Yeah, in 12-month period. So it's like, well,
yeah, but what by 0.001?
Yeah, I don't think they clarified that. But if you look at that, right, I put my conspiracy glasses on and I'm going.
I think I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
Go on.
They're telling you what's coming without saying it. So prepare for it, but they can't actually say that.
Potentially, but what I mean is the central banks, the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, Bank of England, and others across the world, they can essentially create currency however they want.
Well, yeah.
So these booms and busts that we've been going through, are they normal market conditions or are they simply created? And if they're just created, if you want a credit flood, if you want to flood liquidity into an economy, you just lower interest rates, don't you, as low as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
So after the 08-09 recession, which is pretty bad, all that's happened is we've just had an influx of cash, haven't we?
Yeah, yeah.
Influx of currency into all major markets across the entire world. And now we've got to the point of COVID, even more. It's like quadrupled, even more. Go on, everybody have a load of cash. Free money, bounce back loans, all that stuff. Furlough, everything. There you go. Now we got to the point in 2022, early 2022, and the banks are going, we're going to stop chucking all this currency in. We're going to raise interest rates because our policy has created inflation.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So then you go, well, interest rates begin rising. What's going to happen with houses, with people paying mortgages? What's going to happen with unsecured debts that aren't on fixed rates? What's going to happen to car finance? That's a big one. And I'm thinking, it's just been set up. So we've had that much currency come in over the last 10 years or so. People have bought things that they shouldn't be buying. Buy now, pay later stuff. We've got mortgage, people buying houses that they shouldn't be buying. The prices are far too high. We're in the UK, they're far too high.
Crazy.
The wages aren't moving.
With like a 5% deposit.
I saw a mortgage lender offer 7 times income, fixed for 30 years. Which, fixed for 30 years is reasonable, to be fair. I'd quite like some of them mortgages myself. I know what I'm paying. I get that. But these rates are high for a start, and you had to go through certain loopholes.
Let's take a different stance on this just for 1 minute, because obviously that's absolutely bang on. So that's the people that would be caught out in this scenario of a rise in interest rates, specifically to mortgages. Those that are going to be caught out are people that are potentially on a variable mortgage, or people. Well, yeah, those people basically, isn't it? People that have maybe come to an end of a fixed deal and they haven't sorted it out, and then it hits. So, again, if you know what you're doing, you can still sort of ride this storm, can't you?
Yes.
By getting a 5-year fixed deal or a 7-year.
Yes, you can, yeah. But that doesn't take into consideration other conditions. You're in the shops, you're now paying 20% more. That means you haven't got the money to pay your mortgage that you had before. It's all interwoven. So you got your credit cards. A lot of people are on. You end up 30%, 35%. Now we know you don't have to. We have to be careful what we say here, but we know there's ways around paying all that, and it's fraud. Essentially, it's all fraud.
Well, I don't even think that's that bad to talk about anymore. There's so many people out there, companies out there that can get rid of unsecured debt.
But we need to be clear here that it isn't going on some debt payment plan.
Yeah.
It's literally
create
and getting money back.
Yeah.
It's not just wiping it off. It's getting every single direct debit you've ever paid back. And if you understand what's going on there, it's a complete matrix breaker in it. And this is why Thinking Wealth, if you decide to come with us further on the journey, once you get in on your 1 week free trial, we cover some of this stuff because we're learning this as we're going as well, aren't we?
Especially that stuff.
That's a long, timelines again. That's a lifetime study. You're not going to pick that up in a year, 2 years. I mean, I've been looking at it probably 3 or 4 years, and I haven't even scratched the bloody iceberg on it yet. So when interest rates do rise, in my opinion, conspiracy glasses on, that is a wealth grab. People are going to not be able to afford their real assets, and therefore have to give them up based on debt that isn't there.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. But this is why Bitcoin's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you put Bitcoin on a stick.
Well, the fact that it's not, nobody can fuck about with it, basically, that's the biggest benefit of it.
Let's say you got $5 million worth of Bitcoin. All you got to do, jump on an airplane, put it in your rucksack. Imagine carrying $5 million worth of gold with you. Can't do it. I'm a gold bug. I love gold, but let's not make it like unrealistic here that Bitcoin is better than gold in terms of portability. It is, isn't it?
Yeah, goes without saying.
Of course. So the world's moving, man.
You need to look like the Liver King to carry that amount of gold about, mate.
Pulling it through a century.
With his weights behind him and all.
Yeah.
Sorry, we digress.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating conversation, that, and it's like I say, it's something that when your eyes get open to it, like the money creation, just the general how the financial system works and how it operates, it's a real eye opener.
It is, yeah. Money and currency.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They're not the same.
I still use the word money because people understand what you mean when you say it.
Yeah. I'll catch myself and I say, but pull the money out your pocket, and then automatically now it's not money. It's not money. Every time it's currency. Currency is a current in the sea. That's why you get liquidated. That's why you stand in a dock. It's why your passport. People don't click on to all these things.
Yeah.
But you're in the world there.
Yeah.
But you don't lose your peace.
You got to use
because of it.
What you need to. Yeah.
You stand in your own power, take responsibility for what you're happy with, and then change it.
Yeah. Well, you could say that basically what we provide is it's an enabler for that type of person, isn't it? That still sees the benefits of the world that we live in and detaches themselves from the things that they don't like about the world that they live in. That's how they're able to leave. Maybe in a physical sense, actually leave and move elsewhere with a
100%.
Second passport, dual citizenship, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And you know what? I was talking about this with a guy. He's big on social media, and I was talking to him about people who create things in the world and people who consume things in the world. Like 90% of people are consumers.
Yeah.
They just consume.
Yeah.
You're on Instagram, they just scroll. But it's the people who are creating the content that are the ones who are receiving. Yeah. So they're creating but receiving. The consumers don't create nothing, they just consume.
Just a drain.
They're draining. But do you know what that's what it is? They're sucking energy.
I thought I was going to get into politics.
They're sucking energy into himself. And creators, whatever that looks like, it could just be like this type of platform, podcasting, YouTube videos. It don't matter if you don't get no views. For the time being, it will over time.
Yeah.
Just and create stuff because the energy you're putting out there always has to come back. And not to get into the wishy-washy shit, it's just a mirror of reality. It's a law.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, natural law.
Yeah. So you go into Instagram, if you keep creating content, keep making good stuff so that you resonate with, that ain't inauthentic, that's real. If you don't get one like, it's irrelevant, man.
Yeah.
Just go for it. Because in the end, you'll be rewarded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you just mentioned being inauthentic. If you're going out there in the world to do whatever, and it's to get a like, then you got to argue whether it's authentic in the first place because you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. It's lovely, mate. When you have good feedback and that, your dopamine's flowing everywhere. You love it.
It's like when I smash you on our reels, eh?
You believe that? Check the stats yourself. We have a competition about who gets the most feedback on what's the word?
The analytics.
analytical stuff on the reels. Of course, I always win, and he don't like it. Like squash.
What? Okay.
See, he don't. He calls me. Yeah, that's threw me off, man. Yeah. So just anyway, follow our social media platforms because the company's new. We've really only just started going onto Instagram and stuff and actually pumping content out there. Please go on there. Thinking Wealth on Instagram. I think the team has set up a TikTok. If you decide to join us, free 1 week trial. You get private Facebook, private Telegram, and content, regular content, and
regular lives where we actually sit down, talk to you through the computer, through a Zoom call, that sort of setup, and then eventually this will we can actually end up seeing each other, and we can actually organise networking events where we can all get together.
In the Bahamas or something.
Wow, that's the long term, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Little
tax haven, little retreats in tax havens across the world. And another one, let's close on this soon. Tax, right? If you understand what tax was, you'd have an obligation to not pay it. If people think you've got your duty, you've got your duty to pay tax.
That's a moral responsibility.
We're conditioned to believe that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Do your bit for society, pay your tax, right? That's a manipulation by the powers that shouldn't be, right? There's no way on God's green earth that a human should involuntarily need to pay tax. Because if we understand where this tax money goes to, which is, it goes to pay the interest on government debt.
Yeah.
Us in the UK, to get listeners in the US and that, us in the UK have the NHS. Now that's down to opinion whether people think that's any good or not. I tend to think it's garbage. And we should have it a completely different system, in my opinion. That's by the by. But our tax money does not go to the NHS. It does not go to fix the roads. It does not go to councils and all this. Our tax money pays the interest on government debt. Government debt is a fiction. It's made up. So therefore, the tax money you're paying is feeding a deceit. It's feeding a fiction.
Yeah. And that's why when we touched on it 10, 15 minutes ago about the creation of money, when you start going down that line and you sort of, your eyes open up to exactly what's going on, you then start looking at other things. So naturally, you look at your own and you look at where your money goes. So as you've just mentioned, tax. Yeah, you start thinking, well, hold on. If they're creating this out of thin air,
they've just printed how much? 9 trillion in the US.
It's just crazy, isn't it?
And they want how much? 10 grand off you, or whatever your tax bill is. They want 10 grand off you, and they've just printed 9 trillion. It's a joke.
It is.
It's an absolute joke. Once again, consume and create. What do the government create?
Nothing. They're just a cost. They're a parent service.
Regulators, when they heavily regulate things, they stop creation. That's what they're doing.
That's a good point, yeah.
You know what I mean? I understand there's some nefarious people out there who create enterprises that ain't serving people. I completely understand that. And they need to be held to account somehow. But the amount of regulation we have in enterprise and entrepreneurialism, business and that today is a disgrace. You can't get your feet off the ground. You got local towns here empty, half the shops empty, business rates through the roof. What are they providing, these councils?
Crazy, man.
They're not doing anything.
They're like quite blatantly killing small business.
And these are the reason for that.
And again, depending on who you are and where you sit with all of this sort of conversation, that sort of comment again would be labelled as a conspiracy.
Of course it would.
It's just absolutely ridiculous.
It is.
But you've just got to open your eyes and just be willing to open your mind just a fraction, and you can see this. You aren't going to turn into a lunatic.
No.
But, you know, but yeah, it's a frustration because when it's so blatant and people are unwilling to maybe just ask a question or two, It's really frustrating because you're basically maintaining the status quo as a result. You're keeping it going.
I had another one for the council yesterday. Listen to this one.
Yeah.
I put a planning map in to convert an empty industrial unit, semi-industrial unit, right?
Right.
On the edge of a commercial area. So residential less than a quarter of a mile away. Commercial area, just on the edge of the commercial area, right? Feedback from the council is that there's a lot of crime.
Right.
Right. Okay, understand. And they believe that by me converting an empty industrial unit that's been empty for years, it's going to increase crime. How do you decrease crime? By having people, lights, cameras.
Yeah.
That's how you decrease crime.
Yeah.
Now the police, because they're fucking lazy and they don't want more people around that area, right? They're saying too much crime. So how do you decrease crime? By having people there. So the crime can't go on? No. Because people they're just so short-sighted and in their little box.
Yeah.
And lazy. They don't want any change. They don't want development. It's better the devil you know type stuff.
Oh God.
And this is where we're at, man.
I just wrote attitude there. The reason why I put that down, we're talking about people maybe coming out, I don't like using this term, coming out of the matrix. Bit of a cliche.
Yeah, it is.
However, I think if there has been a lot of people that have started to ask a few more questions after what has happened over the last 2 years. So to come to the point, like when I've had conversations with fairly young people, maybe early mid-20s, about this type of subject matter, it really pains me to hear them say these sorts of things. But they go, well, what difference can I make?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? What's the point? That's a good one. What's the point? Well, it's just me.
Yeah, it's most people.
And I can't, if we don't think we're better than that, well, you might as well just not bother starting, basically. And a lot of people won't.
No, they don't. Yeah, that's the point.
When you see things are bigger than just yourself, so like maybe when you have children, for example, so you want to protect them and their futures, and obviously that's their own path which they'll work out for themselves anyway. But as a parent, when you want to feel like you're doing the best for them.
Of course
so when you've got a generation, the generation after mine, with that sort of attitude, it's so awful to hear. And the sort of mentality of, I've always been like this. I can't change. It's like an unwillingness to step outside of who they are. And it's not even who they are. It's who they've the profile they've themselves. It's like the profile they've built for themselves. And if they step away from that, who are they?
That's why it's called a character.
Yeah. Who are they though?
Character.
Yeah. Good point. And again, we're digressing again, but as we quite often do, but it's...
No, we do digress, but the main point, the essence of everything is that.
Yeah.
The essence is what's going on between your ears. Everything else takes care of itself after that point.
Yeah.
But people would rather keep what they've got and then try and change everything. But it doesn't work. You have to go inside, sort that out, or work with it, at least become aware of it, then go out.
Stepping out from the tribe.
Yeah, that's a big one, man. Big one. First one, family. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of them. No. It means you have to begin to be aware that they have their beliefs, they're all conditioned. How can you interact with everything without their need for certainty and need for approval and all this? Oh, you're doing the right thing. It doesn't work, man, because these people are stuck in the mud. You're getting out the mud, but they're talking from the mud. Don't leave, don't leave, don't leave. Our family's always been working class family. It's honourable to work. It is honourable to be working class, but if someone's going to make millions of pounds in an enterprise that they've set up for themselves, and they're saying risky, very risky. They've been on the dole for 5 years, but starting a business is risky.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You're at the mercy of government just turning the tap off. You've got universal basic income, which is round the corner, by the way. Universal basic income. If you don't do what the government tell you, do you think they're going to pay you? They're going to pay you then?
No. Well, this again, we're digressing, but the idea of a socialist type of society, it all works eventually. It all works out similar to how things are now, because that's just human psychology. So you'll always have people that rise to the top, for want of a better word or phrase to use, and there'll always be people who drain. They don't produce anything, because that's just human nature.
The argument is that if you give people their necessities, safety, security, housing. I get all that. They'll then go Maslow's hierarchy. I get that. And I tend to agree to a small extent. But on the other side of the coin, it also creates real laziness because people don't need to create anymore. They don't need to get off their arse. And to me, you're moving away from the natural world because people haven't created it. They're just getting free anything.
Just taking it back to yourself as an individual. You're not what are you fulfilling? Like,
I don't know.
What are you fulfilling if you're constantly just giving everything? It's not a fulfilling life.
No, it's not. No.
You've got to. I think, and the confidence that comes with doing stuff, creating stuff, whether it's a business or whatever it might be, that has such a massive impact on you as a person. Positive impact.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, it does.
So to just give everything away or give people stuff, money, it's an interesting outlook.
It is, man.
And it's one that, has it ever worked?
As far as we're aware. But the lefties always say it hasn't never been done properly. And the righties say it's never been done properly. So it's like, sort your own shit out, man. Come off the political spectrum and figure it out for yourself.
And this is what we always say. Well, I always say it comes back to taking self-responsibility. Always. Always. So you can have whatever political belief you like. You can do whatever line of work, business you like. Always comes back to yourself.
Yeah, it's like Ayn Rand. She said,
good, bad or indifferent.
You can avoid reality, but you can't avoid the consequences of avoiding reality.
Fantastic.
And bang on.
Absolutely fantastic.
Let's wrap this up, mate. I've got a meeting to get to.
Okay.
Thinkingwealth.co.uk, 1 week free trial. Check that out. If you like it for the week, let's get you on board in the network. There is a referral program where you can suggest people come into the network, but we are very selective. We don't want any Tom, Dick and Harry. We want people who are on that journey of individuality, sovereignty, freedom,